Well, what's going on, Cardinal Nation? Man, disappointing loss tonight, tough loss. Come up short, losing to the Philadelphia Phillies 6-5 in the first of three, in the first of this very big stretch of games. Arguably our biggest and most important stretch of games right now, as we are in the middle of August now, with our next 6 games against the two top wild card teams at this moment, the Phillies and then the Chicago Cubs over the weekend in Chicago, and then of course playing the Phillies again, uh, not this weekend but the next weekend. So, and well, potentially by the end of the week, by Sunday, if we can, win these next 2 series, the standings could look really interesting, and depending on what happens to the other teams in the hunt. So, yeah, come up short, lose 6-5, but we attempted another comeback. We did not lead in this game at all, but we made it interesting. So, the Phillies take a 1-0 lead in the top of the second, as Brandon Marsh, leading off the second, would have a single, but then Hunter Dobbins with a error, infield hit by Derek Hill, and a throwing error by Dobbins would allow Marsh to score all the way from first and Hill to make it to third base. And then 2 batters later, RBI single by Edmundo Sosa to make it a 2-0 Phillies lead. So, unearned run, it's still down by only 2 with a lot of game to go. And Dobbins, after that, wasn't all that bad. The only other run he gave up was actually on a double play. Bryce Harper, the 2-time MVP, would ground into a double play, scoring Kyle Schwarber to make it a 3-0 Phillies lead. And the Cardinals no hit through 5 innings, facing Phillies rookie pitcher Andrew Painter. Dobbins would make it through 5 innings, giving up those 3 runs, and Luis Gastelum would replace him in the 6th. And then in the bottom of the 7th, still looking for our first hit, J.J. Weatherholt would have a walk, and then Ivan Herrera with our first hit of the game, as he has been red hotly. We had a huge series over the weekend against the Rockies. And then Alec Burleson with a 2-run single to put us on the board and make it a 3-2 game. So Dobbins was only charged with 1 earned run, 6 strikeouts through 5 innings. So, not a terrible start by him, as he seems like will be in the rotation for maybe the rest of the season, with Dustin May being traded. Gastelum would get the first out of the 7th, and Caleb Ferguson would come in, and a rough inning for Ferguson would walk the first batter he'd faced, then give up RBI double to Kyle Schwarber to make it a 4-2 game, then back-to-back walks, so Ferguson would not get an out. A double and 3 walks, bases loaded for arguably the toughest batter to strike out. Luis Ariz leads the league in batting. Gordon Graceffo would get him to ground into a double play, so that turned out to be huge. However, in the top of the 8th, Edmundo Sosa with a 2-run double to make it a 6-2 game. But then the bottom of the 8th, back-to-back doubles, Herrera and Burleson, that would make it a 6-3 game. Then Mason Wynn would make it a 6-4 game with an RBI double. And then Jose Fermin would make it a 1-run game at 6-5 with still just 1 out in the inning. 2 runs could have scored, but the runners had to make sure that it was not going to be caught. So kind of a tough break, I guess. And Brian Torres pinch hitting, and he would fly out to center. But it would be a 1-run game at 6-5 with the top of the order due up in the bottom of the 9th. Justin Brew would have a scoreless 9th inning. And then in the bottom of the 9th, the Phillies, not using their closer, they played back-to-back extra inning games over the weekend against the Blue Jays. So they had to use a number of pitchers in that series. So they playing without their closer, one of the best in the league, Joan Duran, and Weatherholt would unfortunately have a 2-0 count, but then would have 3 straight strikes, including losing an ABS challenge. Ivan Herrera would then fly out to center, and then Alec Burleson would give it a ride, but would be caught by the right fielder uh, on the warning track to end the game. So he gave it a ride, nearly, good chance of it being tied up. But 3 RBIs for Burleson. He now has 81 on the season. That's a new career high. So, but, disappointing loss, but glad to see us, be competitive and for us to be no hit through the first half of this game. And, to only lose by 1 run is pretty impressive. So this team just never seems to be out of it. So, we'll have a tough test for us tomorrow night. It's a really good pitching matchup. It's Andre Palante getting the start for the Cardinals, but going up against one of the best pitchers in the game this season, left-hander Christopher Sanchez was actually the All-Star Game starter and had a long scoreless inning streak early in the season. So that'll be a tough matchup. So till Tuesday, Alex Chris saying go Cards.